Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to Semojo Homestead, where we've got a lot of stuff that we're trying to get done. Woo, and I'm spilling coffee before the rain comes in. So, one thing that I do every morning is go feed the pigs and the cat, but I'm gonna have to try to get the cat over here. But these pigs, guys, I know we did an update just like a couple weeks ago. They're getting huge. Hey, you ready to eat? Are you ready to eat? You ready to eat? So we are going to hold them. You know, I was thinking until we finished like all of these down here, which really is enough to get us to another week and a half, but I ordered 5 more bags. So that should be able to get us through into August for sure. And then we're going to take these guys to be processed and get some food. I'm going to get them fed, and we're going to start getting our flower garden turned back into a vegetable garden. All right, next up, I'm going to go check the baby turkeys and baby chickens. See how their food is going. And y'all hear that? That chicken song? That is the sound of mockery, guys. Our chickens, now granted, it is our fault, but they're supposed to be in that pen behind us. A tree fell a while ago, took out their fence, so they've been free range for a really long time. Hasn't been that big of a deal because I know where their favorite laying spots are, but they've changed them up on me. So now we hear that every day from several chickens, and we can't find their eggs anywhere. So we're getting about 2 eggs a day if we're lucky, because I do know where 2 of them are laying. But yeah, I hear that. I follow the song. I look all in the area. We can't find them. Somewhere, there are probably several nests out there that have 24 eggs in them. But by this point, they're not good anymore. But anyway, I got to get that fixed so that then we don't have to worry about it and they're laying in the laying boxes again. But hey, check these things out. So those are 2 of our turkeys, 3 of our turkeys, and then all the chickens are back there. So I'm gonna get these guys fed, and then we're gonna have a little bit of a story time that happened right after we finished filming last weekend's video, and it almost cost us more turkeys. If you guys have not really been following along, we started with 5. We're down to 3. One of them showed up dead. One of them got a broken leg a couple days after we received them and never recovered. So now we got 3 left. And we almost had 0. But like I said, let me get these guys fed. In the meantime, thank you guys for joining us. If you are returning and you've already hit that subscribe button, thank you so much. We really do appreciate you guys for doing that, supporting us in that way. If you haven't, we would invite you to consider doing that. Become a part of our YouTube family. It's just what we call people who have subscribed. And if you like this material, it always helps for you to hit that like button. Just a free, simple, easy way that you guys can help us out. And we are so, so grateful for all of you guys. All right, so as I said, we have definitely got a flower garden instead of a vegetable garden. And that's not, check out these. Got to harvest those today, which this afternoon, we are probably bringing you guys along for canning or preserving a lot of this stuff. But flower garden instead of vegetable garden. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's a little much. We have vegetables that are completely getting shaded out and are struggling because of it. And so our main goal in the garden today, outside of harvesting, is really thinning out these zinnias because they're just too much, way too much. We love them for the pollinators. They're bringing the pollinators in, but it's not good. And it doesn't really matter if you're bringing pollinators in if you're shading out all of your vegetables and not allowing them to do what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to get started on that. Cass is actually teaching some of our friends how to milk goats. They're actually the ones who bought four of our goats from us, and they are wanting to milk next year. So they're going to be doing that, and as soon as she's done, she's going to come join me. All right, guys, so while you watch me work, I'm going to talk about this little turkey story adventure that we had happen. So last week when we were filming, we were currently in a lightning delay. Well, that ended up being a massive rainstorm that came through and postponed his game. We ended up leaving, we went and got something to eat, and then came back home. Well, as we started getting close to our house, we realized that storm came through. Well, our turkeys were being brooded in one of those metal watering troughs that you get for livestock, and it was only partially covered. So I started panicking. So we got home as quick as we could. I immediately got out of the car, and sure enough, that thing had not filled up with water. Obviously, it was pretty deep, but had water covering most of the bottom with a couple of inches. Now, it was on a slope, so one side had, I don't know, we'll call it a foot of dry trough area, and two of our turkeys were there. The other one was halfway submerged in water. They were all three shivering. They were so cold. So we immediately took them out of there, dried them off, and put them under a heat lamp. Well, they all did fine. As you saw earlier in this video, they were fine. They dried off, they warmed up, and were great. But it's definitely a scare. And these turkeys, these three, now they are still being raised for food, but they are some really tough turkeys that deserve a ton of credit.
We got the garden pretty much cleared out. All the rows have kind of been cleared of the extra zinnias, which it looks a lot more bare. It's not nearly as colorful, but in the process, we found so many little pepper plants and basil plants and tomato plants that were just not thriving. So it's definitely going to be the best to have those sections of the garden cleared, and we still have a fair amount in there. And we put the ones that were pretty or that we knew we had some seed heads on them in Selah's garden, so they can reseed there and it'll be good. As we were cleaning up, we also found a lot of beans that we harvested. So some of them, unfortunately, with everything going on, we missed, so they got a little dry. I'm actually going to keep these. I could seed save them, but what I'm actually going to do is I will leave them in the shell until they're totally dry. Then I'm going to take them out of the shell, and we can cook them like any other bean, like any dry bean. Because of our crazy life, we do have several that just need to be strong and ready to be canned and preserved. We have not been able to do as much preserving as we want to do, or as we need to do. So that's what I'm going to work on today. Jeremy is actually inside doing more relish. We have so many cucumbers that they're just coming out of our earlobes. We have so much. So those definitely need to be done. We don't want to lose those because last year we didn't get very many cucumbers, and we actually used the last of our pickles and relish and all of that. Thankfully, the year before, or maybe even 2 years before, we harvested and put away enough that it got us through. And now we have a great harvest. So, but we are at the tail end. So we want to make sure we get as many of those in and pickled as possible because our kids love having them. We have a few ways that we preserve food. Green beans, I much prefer to be canned because once they're canned, they're already partially cooked, and it's just a quick, easy meal for a weeknight, and it's a guaranteed favorite among my kids. If they are cooked in a cast iron, in Jeremy's grandmother's cast iron pot with some pork fat, it's like there aren't going to be leftovers. They get demolished quickly, and it's nice to have a vegetable that you can count on being cooked simply on the stove, and you know that everyone's going to want seconds and it's going to be quickly eaten. A big part of that, I think, is Jeremy's grandmother's cast iron. This cast iron has made many of pots of green beans. It is well seasoned, and I can definitely tell a difference when we cook anything in that pot. There's that old Southern flavor to it. It's just, I don't know. You can't really explain it. The kids, they see that and they know that we have green beans, and everyone gets so excited. So I know that we'll be able to get a lot more food to put away. We've harvested a ton of squash. I froze a lot of squash to be prepared to freeze dry. I also grated squash. I like to grade squash and just put it directly in the freezer. I put 2 cups at a time in freezer bags, and it's perfect for a recipe I have for zucchini bread or zucchini cupcakes. And that's a really good, easy thing, another thing that I know my kids will eat all the time. And I can also put it in their lunches. With this lifestyle that we're living with homesteading, it is difficult to make prepared lunches and not get lazy when you're busy. I want to make sure that I'm growing things that are good for our dinners, but also just practical for our lifestyle. So I might be kind of reassessing what we plant in the garden for our fall and winter garden based on what I need for them for lunches. We have our pear tree. For the fall, I can make some pear sauce. They love the pear sauce. And we should have a few apples, probably not a lot, but they could definitely take them in their lunches. We have frozen quite a bit of blackberries and blueberries, actually. And those we can use for smoothies, which would be a breakfast, not really a lunch, or I can use them to make muffins. We had some friends come to the homestead, and they were actually, one of the ladies that came was actually talking about how her grandfather would boil his squash and kind of puree it down and make it into patties similar to some zucchini cakes that I make. And I thought, well, that might be another way to prepare zucchini, and I can freeze it. And again, it'd be something that I could pull out of the freezer, have it already made, and make our own little convenience food with it. If you have any thoughts about that, any recommendations, if you've been there, or even if you're on that journey now and there's something that you want to try or something you've been intrigued by, I'd love for you to share that with me. I would love to hear how you are matching your homestead lifestyle with the busyness that this world sometimes brings to us.
We have had a productive, busy weekend, and I feel like we are almost caught back up, almost. But having the garden kind of put back in order is a huge stressor off of my plate. I mean, look at this, guys, it's beautiful. When I brought you guys out here yesterday and did this shot, all you could see was color and flowers, which it was pretty, but now you can see food. Makes me happy. I am gonna come over here with my lovely wife, Cassandra. We're gonna do highs and lows and wrap up this video and probably get lost in this garden, because, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do.
Right?
Right? You going first?
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay. So my high would probably be that we were able to be so productive, and I feel like we are actually kind of ahead of the game-ish, especially compared to where we've been. Like, I feel like everything is more manageable at this point, which is good. I was able to freeze a bunch of zucchini. I just feel like it's not like overwhelming anymore. So that's awesome.
There's not produce all over our kitchen.
This is partially
nice.
true. We still have garlic and onions.
Yeah.
My low is probably that it's kind of a mix, but I'm sad that they lost their last game. That was a low for me. All those boys were real sad. I'm glad we're not going to the World Series. But it was sad watching all those little boys be so heartbroken. over that last game.
Yeah. So that would actually be my high, not that they lost. But we ended up coming in second place,
Yeah.
which was huge for that team
Yes.
because we lost the first game in the tournament. So automatically get dropped to the loser's bracket. And for them to fight their way back all the way to the championship game was like unheard of.
Impressive.
I mean, even just going into the tournament, no one really thought, including coaches,
Yeah.
that we would make it to the championship game. And it was impressive. Those
Yeah.
boys played their hearts out. And so that was definitely my high.
Yes.
Because, yes, it was sad. They were devastated to lose that last game. But the fact that they made it to that last game and the way that they played, that was, and got second place, definitely a high of mine.
Yeah.
My low is 4th of July. The first half of it, anyway.
Yeah.
I worked the day before, and I think just it was too long in the heat, and the whole morning of 4th of July was just really kind of not under the weather, but definitely down. Did not feel good. My body was way off and just kind of felt sick. But thankfully, by lunchtime, I was feeling a lot better, and we were able to still go do our celebratory things that we had planned to do as a family. So that was really, really nice.
So, okay, wait. On that note, I forgot about something that is actually probably more of my high. You know what it is?
Oh, July 4th.
Yes, that night. So that night, we went to a local baseball game, and one of the guys playing actually cracked his bat during the game, smashed the ball and cracked his bat. And we could hear it. It was pretty cool. What's even cooler was that afterwards, the father of this player found Josiah, and he told his son that was playing in the game to give Josiah his bat. And it was so cool. Like Joe, when he realized that he was getting this bat from this player to take home with him, it was just like, man, he was over the moon.
Yes, he was. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And it was all because he was wearing his All-Star hat.
Yes.
The Batesburg-Leesville hat.
Yeah.
Because they are from Batesburg-Leesville.
Yes.
So it was really neat. And this kid goes to college at Clemson and plays for Clemson. And so that just made it that much cooler for Joe.
The whole game, he was like, he's from Clemson. I want his autograph. So that was really cool.
Yeah. So I hope that you guys had cool moments this week too, and a really good 4th. We do thank you so much for joining us. We will be putting a kid-friendly vegetable recipe up this week, so keep an eye out for that, especially if you have kids that don't want to eat vegetables.
Yeah.
This is a great way to get them to eat that and use an abundance of produce if you're gardening and you just feel overwhelmed with zucchini. There's your hat. But as always, guys, we thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week and be blessed.